My shop is called Green In Bklyn. It's an eco-friendly home goods and gift shop in Clinton Hill, which is about a mile from my home, so my dog and I walk to work every day. And it was important for me to open in my neighborhood, so I'm really pleased that I am able to be a part of it and contribute to it and be here. I had a lot of different jobs. I was an actor initially, which continued through all my other jobs. I worked in catering, I taught, I did technical writing, I did computer testing, and amazingly, I had no idea that all of those things came into play when I opened the shop. I did have retail experience, but I hadn't done that for a while. But surprisingly, everything I did in some way helped me with the shop. I was looking to do something different than what I had been doing. I literally sat down and started making a list of everything I'd ever done and everything I could do, including digging ditches and babysitting. I really wanted to make a change. But the real inspiration for this shop was that my sweetheart and I were trying to live a greener life, and we're having a really hard time finding the products we needed at all, and then specifically finding them in our neighborhood and our community. Like most New Yorkers, we were very busy. If it wasn't convenient or easy, it was going to be difficult to get done. And it was an important thing for us to be able to live greener, but it was a difficult thing to do. So I started thinking how much easier it would be if it was convenient, if it was easy, if it was local. I came up with the idea, and then I talked to a local group that had cheaper rental spaces for small businesses, and said I had a great idea and wanted a space, and they asked if I had a business plan, and I didn't. And they suggested strongly that I get a business plan together. So I wrote a plan. I had help from another group. A business plan is huge, so it's very important to have that solid foundation and a strong business plan to know what you're getting into. You never know what you're really getting into, but to at least have some kind of idea. I wrote the business plan. I was looking at rental spaces to help me get a better sense of what they would cost and where they were available. I didn't anticipate getting one right away. The dream space that I had hoped would someday be available suddenly became available, and so that was probably 6 months after I just came up with the idea. I went into negotiations for the lease the following January, which was 9 months after I had the idea. The lease was signed and build-out started, and I opened on Earth Day 2009. So I had been told that even though I had good credit, that getting a bank loan would be near impossible. I ended up with 2 loans from 2 different places. One was for less than I had hoped for, but in the long run it was better because it still covered my expenses, and now I have cheaper loan payments, which is really helpful when you're first starting and really helpful when you're growing. I put in my alarm system, I put in my camera system, I put writing on the windows, I put the awning, I did the build out. I tried to put as many expenses up front as possible so that I wouldn't have to worry about them down the road. That's my dog. So it ended up being pretty close, but I worked really hard to make sure that that was true. I think it's important to be really realistic about your expenses, because if you're not, you're short of money. My estimated budget for startup was $100,000, and I think that was low. I mean, not low for what ended up being spent, but our build out was based on using as little new products as possible, as doing as little to the space as possible, keeping expenses down as much as possible. A lot of our display stuff is from other shop that was closing or made from reused and recycled stuff. We didn't do a lot of building in the space. We reused things that had been in the space. So the build out was considerably less expensive than I think it could have been or would be for other businesses. We probably spent, and by we I mean I, probably spent $30,000 on the bill. The business plan was really helpful for me in getting real about what opening the business would be like. One of the sections is where are you going to locate and how much is it going to cost. And having to write that and having to write it truthfully meant that I had to do a lot of research. And again, because I wanted to open in my neighborhood, I wanted to contribute to my community, I wanted to be a part of it, my dog and I spent a lot of time walking around the neighborhood looking at space. And again, at the time, the economy was really in the tanker. Now it's sort of crawling out of it, but there were a lot of spaces available. And so I just spent a couple of months. It was summer, so it was easy to do. I'd literally go on walks for an hour or two with the dog, and I would call any space that I saw available, ask how much it was, how big it is, was it finished, was it raw, and just kept writing down everything I found out. I really wanted to open up in this location, in this area, because in the end, because it has a strong business improvement district, which meant that I would have support, I would have resources that I might not have if I were somewhere else. It also was an avenue where there was a significant amount of foot traffic, but there was also an intent to increase that foot traffic. I looked at a lot of spaces. One that I'm currently in was sort of the dream space, but it wasn't available at the time. So everything that I read kept saying location, 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 which is a cliche, but it's really true. If you don't have the right location, don't open. And I've told people that. I have a friend who had a shop around the corner off of the avenue. She said when she moved onto the avenue, she increased her rent by 300%, but her sales increased 400%, which shows the difference in where you are. I opened this space here because it's an eco-friendly home goods and gift shop. I'm across from a health food store. On the next corner is a pharmacy that sells a lot of alternative products. I'm 2 doors down from the natural health, the natural beauty and hair care line that's growing by leaps and bounds. I'm next door to an African store. On the other side of my wall is a bank and with an ATM, and there's another bank there with an ATM, and there's a bus stop in front of my store. So everything pointed to, one, that I was on the block that supported my kind of business, and two, I was in a location that supported foot traffic. One of the pieces of advice that I got when I was working on my business plan is get a strong board of advisors. And the other great piece of advice was talk to 50 people in your industry or in industries that are connected with your business. In the beginning, I was really sort of shy about doing that. I didn't understand why anyone would want to help somebody else, or if they had time to do it or an interest. But because I was required to do it, I had to do it. And so I just started chatting everybody up. Literally, the woman who's got the natural hair care line, I was passing her store one day and asked her if she had a minute to talk. And she ended up having an hour and a half. And now she's had 2.5 years. I think it's really important to reach out when you are growing your business. It's also important when you have a business to reach out to the other businesses around you, to get a solid group of people that can support you, that have other experience either in your industry or in associated industries. So even if you are doing what I did, which is open by yourself, be your own employee at least for a couple of years, you still have support.